a handful of MBA types come through boot camp, and they're kind of in the, do I do traditional or do I self-funded? What really was it about self-funded that was attractive to you compared to traditional?
To me, there's some people out there who say there's only one way to search. And I think that's sort of just complete bullshit. I think you need to search based on what makes the most sense for you and, your personality and where you are sort of in your life journey, right? So I think if I was 26, 28 and had just come out of booth and had the coaching of my professors and got everything synced up, there's a lot of potential in a traditional search. And I think there's nothing wrong with that. I was at that point, in my, call it early to mid 30s at that point. I wasn't sort of in the financial debt right after grad school. I had worked for the fund for a few years, so I had a little bit of savings, and I was in a position where I could go do a self-funded model. The idea of owning 100% versus 25% potentially on a traditional model, even if it might be a bigger company, I like that idea. I also, at that point, I wanted to get going, and I didn't want to waste my time, not waste time, I didn't want to use up time to go raise a fund and deal with investors and do that whole part of it. And I think what was one of the final sort of decision factors for me was I went to the Southeast ETA conference, which I think it rotates between Duke, UNC, and UVA. And so I went to the one at UVA, and I talked to a few traditional searchers there who had, were just graduating from UVA from Darden, and they told me if they had to do it all over again, they would have done a traditional search or a self-funded search. They told me they had come across deals that they knew were good deals, but their investors said no to, maybe because they just weren't big enough. Hearing that was like, okay, that's the final straw for me. I knew I was already sort of leading that way, but hearing that, I was like, okay, I'm going to do this, the self-funded model.